You sort of just have to laugh at this point because it's ridiculous. Haliburton, he recorded his third game with at least 25 points, 15 assists, and 0 turnovers this season. That was on Thursday afternoon. No other player has put up more than one game with that stat line in their entire career since turnover started being tracked in the late 70s. And with that, we say hello to Adrian Wojnarowski, because if you've been paying attention to Indiana basketball this season, you maybe saw this night coming for Haliburton and the Pacers. But it felt like last night was truly a coming out party in front of the entire NBA and basketball world. Woj, what message did this send to the rest of the league?
Look, and Tyrese Haliburton said this to me on the eve of this Final Four, which is, I am trying to tell players in this league, you'll want to come play with me. I'm going to get you the ball. I'm going to make it easy for you, and we are going to win. And what he is doing for this Indiana organization now is allowing their president, Kevin Pritchard, to be able to try to go find his Robin. When they traded for him, they weren't quite sure whether this was a Batman or a Robin. This is a Batman in the NBA. And what in a league where you're always measuring, especially in a small market, risk versus reward.
Yeah.
For Indiana now, and they've been aggressive in trying to trade for that big athletic two-way wing player that they need to build out this roster. And if that's OG Anunoby, if that's Pascal Siakam in Toronto, those kinds of players, as they become available in trade talks, as the Pacers, you know that we are willing to risk giving up picks and assets because we believe we will be able to re-sign that player, that we're not going to lose them in free agency. And that's vital for an organization like Indiana, because you can't always take great risks in places that are not free agent destinations. And what Tyrese Haliburton is determined to do is make Indiana a place where they can get great players and then keep them. And right now, you look around the league and players talk, and they see a player like, who would not want to play with Tyrese Haliburton right now? And that is transcendent for a market and an organization like Indiana.
Wouldn't you?
Well, Woj, actually, Austin Rivers and I today on First Take, we were talking about this very topic.
Yeah.
And we were saying, if we were players in the league right now, and granted, Austin and I were role players, I'll admit that. But if we were players in the league right now, and we took a landscape of right now, who would we want to play with in the NBA? It's two guys. It's Nikola Jokic and Tyrese Haliburton. And part of it is because Tyrese Haliburton is one of the 3 or 4 best offensive players in the world. And let's take a look at the tape here to show you why. And it starts with pace. Tyrese Haliburton and the Pacers are always looking to push in transition. He's got his head up, incredible vision, finds Obi Toppin at a key point in the game here. He's #1 in the NBA in transition assists. Here in the half court, gets the matchup he wants with Brook Lopez, takes him off the dribble. He's the #1 most efficient player in drives and isolations. And of course, elite pick and roll player. He's unlocked a lot with this step back 3. He is #1 in the NBA in efficiency, shooting off the dribble and playing out of pick and rolls. How many guys in NBA history have that skill set? He is the best in the NBA right now at all of that.
Okay, the Lakers are about to start practice behind us. There's going to be one thing at the top of their scouting report. Get back. They have got to get back. Tyrese Haliburton is like the ocean. If you turn your back, he will kill you. You know, the Pacers had a very poor three-point shooting game. This is very unusual they would win a game like they did last night. The reason they got those extra points was because they beat the Bucks back over and over, even when they had the Bucks made baskets. Tyrese Haliburton is always looking to throw it ahead. His teammates know it. He will kill you in transition. And if you do not know Tyrese Haliburton's game, NBA and the NBA fan world, get ready to learn it. And this is one of the big adjustments that have got to be made against him.
I went into last night, and I said this on NBA Countdown. Tyrese Haliburton is a humble star. Every time you talk to him, it's not just about him, it's about the team. It's about doing it for the group. However, there was one moment last night that I'm not sure I could continue to use the word humble. It's when he hit that 3, and then he hit the Dame time celebration. Everybody remembers that. That might have been one of the best parts of the nights, in my opinion.
Shout out to Dame, by the way, for taking it the way you hope.
I thought he handled that very well.
So defense has been the Bucks' identity really over this championship window, but they're giving up almost 119 points per game this season, on pace to be the most in a season in franchise history. So obviously the defense is nowhere close to where we've grown accustomed to it being, Wilbon, but do you think that it's that cut and dry? That's the issue for the Milwaukee Bucks here?
It's a big part of the issue, but to me, there's an issue within that, and it's Chris Middleton. I mean, Dame and Giannis is great. We can talk about the two-man game and how they play with each other. And it was interesting talking to Dame the other night about the process they're in. But Chris Middleton, and I think his injuries, I don't think he forgot how to play. Chris Middleton during the championship season averaged 20.4 points per game. He is down to 12.4 now. He's down 11 minutes per game, down to 22 minutes. And Richard was reminding me of this before we went on air. He was a plus defensive player, maybe a B-minus defensive player, and that's a big part of that identity that Milwaukee had. He is now a guy that is likely to be hunted because he's not physically the same player that we got used to seeing, and he was a 3-time All-Star, twice before and once after the championship season. He's not that player anymore. To me, let's say that Giannis and Dame have A-minus seasons.
Okay.
That's not going to be good enough in Milwaukee. Without Chris Middleton or some replacement, and you hate seeing this happen, but that's the reality.
On the Middleton point, he has been on a minutes restriction.
Right.
Because, coming back from off-season surgery. I think in stretches he's been good. Towards the end of last season when he was off his minutes restrictions, I thought he had a really good stretch. But you're right. He's key. For me, the key to whether the Milwaukee Bucks are a real championship-level team or not, it comes down to the defensive side of the ball. This has been a top-5 defense for a number of years. And I always assume there might be some growing pains bringing in a rookie head coach. Adrian Griffin has already shown a willingness to mix up different defensive coverages. He's got Brook Lopez back in a drop. But the real issue is they don't really have a point-of-attack defender because they traded Drew Holiday. And, of course, the trade-off to that is they're better in the clutch. Going into last night, they were 9-2 in clutch games that Dame played. So Dame time has been there, but they just haven't been there defensively.
Well, and the thing is, too, sometimes some folks would wonder, okay, well, should they be in as many clutch games, clutch situations as they have been against the level of opponent that we've seen this season?
Yeah, so in all honesty, they have gotten what they wanted from Dame. Their fourth quarter offense is one of the best in the league. Mm-hmm. They've done a little bit of smoke and mirrors because their schedule has been favorable so far, and they've sort of squeaked out some wins because Dame has been so good. They've bought themselves a little bit of a margin for error. So they definitely are not the defensive team they need to be, and Chris Middleton's where he needs to be. But let's just point out that we are early in the season, and this is going to be a 6-month project for them.
And this is a team where their improvement largely, maybe almost entirely, is going to have to come from within. They're not in position to go out and say at the trade deadline, bring in an impact role player that the whole league is pursuing. They don't have the assets. They have done a remarkable job of building a roster around Giannis Antetokounmpo, keeping him there, but at the cost to be a contender, and Brian has said this, to be a contender as long as they have, you pay a price with the draft picks you have, the young players you have available to put in trades. So their improvement, you're going to have to see it from within. There's not anybody at the trade deadline coming in like you've seen in recent years in Milwaukee. They don't have the assets now.
Right, and at the end of the day, we still are talking about a Milwaukee team that is second in the Eastern Conference right now. The reason that we're talking about them through this lens, right, is because the expectations are so high, and what we've seen from teams like the Boston Celtics, like the Philadelphia 76ers, even the Indiana Pacers sort of knocking and saying, hey, we're here too. That's the measuring stick that they're being measured up against, and certainly they have some time to sort of work on that Rubik's Cube a little bit.